What's up guys, my name is Gatsby, welcome back to the vlog. Very quick intro today. We're here at the Victoria Casino. We're going to play some 2, 5, 5, 10, 10, 25, where we can get into. I'm here with my buddy Cy Fiasco. Ready to play?
Hi YouTube.
Give your mum a shout out.
Hi mum.
There we go. Right, let's jump in and play.
Alright guys, in we go, getting a seat in this 2-5 game just a couple of minutes after entering the casino. I am going to put the straddle on, which is going to kind of stick, so we're playing 2-5, sometimes with a £10 straddle, and later on the game is going to convert to 5-10 with a £25 straddle as well. On to our first hand of the day. After sitting down 6 minutes into the session, I pick up Ace King of Hearts in the small blind. The hijack is a non-pro, straddle not on for this hand, he raises to £20. I'm going to put in the re-raise, I make it £85 to go out the small, and the hijack makes the call. We go heads up to our first flop of the day. It is King 7 Deuce with 2 clubs. Good start here with top. I bet out for £60. My opponent makes the call. The turn is the Jack of Hearts. I decide to keep on betting. I bet out for £225, and he just lets it go. Still not bad to be scooping in your first pot played of the night. And in the very next hand, the same guy raises. I'm on the button with Ace Jack offsuit. I put in the re-raise. I make it £75 to go, just trying to exploitatively use a larger size. It blows up in my face as I get cold 4-bet from one of the blinds, and I have to just let it go. Very fast start here, playing lots of hands, lots of ace highs. And in our next hand, we've got ace 10 offsuit in middle position. Straddle is on, under the gun limps in for a 10. I raise to £45 next to act. A local pro by the name of Bobby is going to call in the straddle. He's featured many times in this vlog. He's going to feature heavily on it later on tonight. He makes the call out the straddle, and under the gun calls as well. We go 3 ways to the flop, 10, 9, 4 rainbow, top pair, top kicker again. And again, I'm going to bet out this time for £75. Bobby is going to get out the way, kind of happy to see that. The limper is going to make the call though. The turn is the 7 of diamonds, pretty connected turn here. He's only about £80 behind, so I just put him all in. He makes the call, running it once here. The river is a 6. And he turns over King Jack of Spades. He had a double gutter, 2 overs, lots of outs. Some might say he had too many outs though, because I am able to hold here and pick up this pot. No time to count my stack though, because in the very next hand I'm in the straddle with King Deuce of Spades. My buddy Ben, a bad is raised to £30 under the gun. It folds all the way around to me, and I make the call. We go heads up to the flop, King 5-3, top pair again for me. Flopping pretty well so far tonight. Ben is going to see bet for £20. I expect he's just range betting here, so I of course make the call. The turn is the Queen of Clubs, bringing a flush draw, and Ben is going to size up all the way to £130. Top pair looking a little weaker now, but of course never folding. Looking even more weak when the river is the Jack of Hearts. I checked my opponent. Really don't love it if he bets here, but happy to see him announce that he's got ace high. He turns over ace 8 of clubs. I'm able to count my stack after scooping in another pot. I'm up £434 after just about 40 minutes or so far tonight. Let's keep it going. Next up, I'm on the button with King Queen of Spades. Straddle is on here. I raise it on up to £30. Ben is in the small blind. He is going to put in the re-raise here, and I of course make the call. Heads up to the flop, King Queen 4 with a flush draw. Beautiful start here with top 2 pair. Ben is going to see bet for £100. And I am not raising here, I think just calling. He's got hands like ace 9 and things like that, which are just drawing so slim, so I think just call here is by far the best play. The turn is an offsuit 3, nothing changes, and Ben continues to barrel. This time he bets £300. I fake tank for a little while, again just calling here with top 2 pair. The river is another 3. I lose to pocket aces now, and I guess he could be in there with ace 3 suited as well. After a few seconds though, he decides that he wants to move all in. If he's got aces or ace 3, then I just got to pay the man his money. I make a very quick call. He announces 7 high. He turns over 7, 6 of diamonds, and I am scooping in this massive pot worth around £2,800. Absolutely delighted. Fair play to Ben for finding the bluff here. Most people would just give up on the river, but really nice pot coming my way. I'm up £1,800 now after about 45 minutes. Very nice hourly if you can get it. Next hand of note, I've got pocket jacks in the small blind. Under the gun is limped in. The player next to act raises to £40. The cutoff calls, the button calls, And I put in the squeeze here. However, I do make a mistake. I'm going to hold my hands up. I only make it £200 to go. I think something like 260, 270 would be much, much better here, given it's gone limp, raised to 40, and then 2 calls. The cutoff is going to make the call. This is Bobby, the local pro. He plays online and live. He plays very well live, very loose, aggressive style. We go heads up to the flop. It is ace 7-5 rainbow. Don't love that ace, but Bobby's got quite a wide range here, and there's a bit of value to be had, so I decide to c-bet for £170. And he raises to £475. Now, the way the poker works these days is you assign a range to your opponent. You say that he could have a hand like, you know, maybe ace-queen here, or 8-9 suited, or, you know, pocket deuces. However, I am putting him on a hand, not a range. I put him on exactly 6-5 suited. I've played with Bobby a lot. I am absolutely convinced he's got one hand here and one hand only. It's 6-5 suited. I make the call here. Normally I would fold this hand. It's not good enough to continue versus the raise. But versus Bobby, I am calling here and calling down. The turn is an 8. I checked my opponent, ready to call turn, call river. Happy to see him just check it on back, though. The river is a 6. Really annoying. There's a 4-liner to a straight on board, and his 6-5 suited gets there as well. I checked my opponent. He moves all in, and I declare that I put him on 6-5 suited. I know he's got in there. I make a relatively quick fold. I ask him to show one time, and I'm pretty sure if he had a bluff here, he would show it. I am absolutely certain he's got 6-5 suited. He claims later that he had pocket 7s, and then tries to change it to pocket 5s as he's leaving. Bobby, you had 6-5 suited. It's okay, buddy. I've called out your hand. I've owned your soul. Nice hand, buddy. Bit of a setback there, only up about £1,200 or so, but still the grind goes on. Next up, I've got ace-5 of diamonds in the small blind. The cutoff raises to £35. He's an unknown, reggy-looking fella. I put in the re-raise from the small blind. I make £140 to go. A little bigger because we're out of position, of course. The cutoff thinks for a few seconds, and he makes the call. We go heads up to the flop. Queen 10 for all black. Not exactly what I was looking for here, but it's a double Broadway board. I decide to just bet my entire range for 1/3. I bet out for £100, and after a few seconds, my opponent makes the call. The turn is a king, and I decide to check it on over to my opponent. It's a pretty connected turn. I think you could bet here, but I just want to prioritize as much equity as possible, so I really just want to bet my nut flush draws here, essentially. After a few seconds, my opponent checks it on back, and the river is a queen. We got to bluff something here. I unblock the types of hands I'm trying to make fold in the form of clubs, jack 10, 10-9, all these types of hands which might not call a river bet, so I decide to bet out for £380, and after about 15 seconds or so, he makes the call. I turn over my ace high. He's got king 4 of spades. Really didn't expect to see that, to be honest. A little surprised to see him call that pre-flop, but hey, it's gone really well for him. I am only up £352 after this hand. A little disappointing because about 30 minutes or so ago, I was up about £1,800. Still, what can you do? Next up, I've got pocket aces in early position. The game has just converted to 5-10, and I pick up pocket aces in the very first hand. I raise them on up pre-flop. Bobby calls out the straddle. The flop is actually ace 7-3. I c-bet for a small size. He makes a joke about check raising. I'm willing him to do it, but he just lets it go. I windmill the aces across the table. A little disappointing because, like I say, he's very capable of finding a lot of loose raises there, but hey, it's not to be. Alright guys, big announcement here. I'll be playing 2550 on stream this Sunday on Coin Poker with the one and only Tony G. I'm giving away 2% of anything I win, 1% on Twitter. I'll put a link in the description. You can find that. And another 1% in the comments on YouTube. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is guess below how much you think I'm going to win on the stream. Closest guess wins. I'll be playing 2550, one table for 2 hours. Plenty of rebuys if I need them. I'll be buying in for 5k. Put a comment below guessing how much you think I'm going to win in the session. Closest guess wins. All right, back to today's session. Let's go.
Alright, time for a little mid-session update. Played a very, very interesting hand a few seconds ago. So under the gun is Bobby. He's a local pro, plays online, plays really well. He raises to £60 because we're playing 5-10 with the straddle on. I am a couple of seats over with a pair of 10s and decide to just flat call. Small blind calls as well, loose passive non-pro. We go 3 ways to the flop. It's 9-8-5 with 2 spades. Action checks to me. I know Bobby can do a lot of check raising here, but I think we still have to bet. We've got the best hand very often, lots of values we had, need some protection. So I bet out for 1/3 pot. The small blind calls, and I'm kind of really happy to see Bobby just go ahead and fold his hand. Turn is another 9, and the small blind checks. I think we can bet again. There's lots of value from hands like pocket 7s, but I decide to just check back this time just to be on the safe side. The river is a 10, absolute chef's kiss river, and the small blind now leads out for £150. He, like I say, he's relatively loose and relatively passive. I don't think he's ever bluffing here. I think he's going to have a 9 really often. I, of course, go all in for about £600. He makes a very quick call, and he's so confident he wins, he starts to turn his hand over. He's got Queen 9 offsuit. It's a bit of a cooler, to be honest. I've 2 out of him on the river. Very nice pot coming my way. We're up about £1,000 now, which is very nice, and we're going to jump back in. Break is over, and we're back to work now. Next up, I've got Ace Queen offsuit in the straddle. The big blind is going to raise to £75. I'm going to put in the re-raise and make it £225 to go. The big blind is the guy who had the King 4 suited earlier, so I know that he's relatively loose pre-flop and doesn't love to fold post-flop either. We go heads up to the flop, King 9-5 rainbow. My opponent checks it on over to me, and after a few seconds, I decide to c-bet here for £150. My opponent goes deep into the tank here. He takes about 60 seconds or so. Eventually, he does fold. I'm kind of relieved when he takes that long and folds, to be honest, because I expected him to continue after such a long tank. But hey, we'll take it. Back up to £1,300 profit for the night. And next up, I've got 10-9 of diamonds in early position. I raise it on up to £60, and the small blind, who is the guy from the last hand, the guy with the King 4, he makes it £300 to go. Me and him should just go play heads up somewhere, to be honest. It feels like it's him and me in every pot. I make the call on my 10-9 of diamonds, and the flop comes down Jack 5 deuce with 2 spades. Not what I was looking for at all. He c-bets for £200, and I, of course, just let it go. Moving on now, and I've got pocket kings myself in the cutoff. Middle position raises to £30. The low jack makes it £90. This is the guy who I played virtually every hand tonight against, and I'm going to put in the cold 4-bet to £260. The low jack is going to make the call after a bit of a tank, and we'll go heads up to the flop, Jack 10-5. Pretty decent flop here for me to get paid on. I am losing to jacks and 10s, Jack 10 suited. This guy might even have Jack 5 suited, but still lots of top pairs and second pairs and draws and stuff like that. So I bet out for £180, and after about 45 seconds or so, my opponent just folds. Happy to take this one down. Running quite good, feeling myself here tonight, but we're on to our last hand of the night here. I've got ace-8 of spades on the button. I raise it on up to £75. The straddle is going to make the call. He's a local pro. He plays all the big games in the casino. I know he's a very good player. We go heads up to the flop, Queen Jack 8 with 2 clubs. I've got third pair, but with a really nice kicker. I decide to bet here. You want to bet your third pairs, your second pairs with the best kickers on board like this, so that my ace-8 can get value from his 8-6 and stuff like that. So I bet out for £55, and after a few seconds, my opponent makes the call. The turn is another 8 to give me 3 of a kind. Really nice turn card here, and I keep betting. I bet out for £200. Maybe a tiny bit too small in hindsight. Should be going like 215 or something like that, but no harm done as my opponent makes the call. The river is the 4 of clubs, completing the flush. I did think about checking back, but there's lots of worse hands that can hero call here. Like I say, my opponent is very good, and I think he perceives me to be decent at the game, so he can think I could be bluffing with certain hands here, so he might call with some of his top pairs. Maybe he just thinks I'm a whale, who knows. But anyway, I decide to go for value. I bet out for £475. I am praying my opponent makes the call. I know this is my last hand of the night. He does not call. Instead, he announces that he's all in. This is absolutely disgusting out of nowhere. I wish I'd just been a total nit and checked it on back, because now I've got this really gross decision. I've got about £1,450 behind after the £475 bet, and I'm really not sure what to do. I do block Jack 8 and Queen 8, but there are one combo of each of those, Jack 8 suited and Queen 8 suited. Obviously all the flushes as well. And I'm really struggling to think of bluffs for my opponent here. Hands like King Queen with a club, Queen 10 with a club. These are the types of hands that he could be bluffing with here. Maybe a Jack with a club as well. But in the end, I decided that there's too many value combos. I think he's going to shove all his nut flushes. And it's really tough for me to find a whole bunch of bluffs here. So I decide to just sigh and fold. I asked my opponent to show the bluff one time, and he says something which is just absolutely bone-chilling. He says, "I want to show you and nobody else." So I take his cards off of him, knowing full well that he's going to just have a bluff here. I look at the Jack first, and I'm like, okay, please be Jack 8 one time. And then I peel the Ace of Clubs. Absolute ownage from my opponent. Really nice hand from him. He actually says, don't tell anyone, okay? And I say, don't worry, I've just shown 16,000 people on YouTube, but I won't tell anyone at the table. In all seriousness, really nice bluff from my opponent. I just thought he had a value hand. I thought he had a better hand than I did. I make a very tight fold, and I get owned. This is a little disappointing as I head to the cashier. I'm only up £221 for the night now. I was up £1,700 at peak, then I was back down to 300, then I was back up to like 1,200 or so. So a little disappointed that I got bluffed so hard on the last hand of the night.
But hey, it's just part of the game.
Alright guys, we're all done. Very weird night tonight. I was up about 1700 pounds relatively early, and I was like, let's kick on and win a lot of money tonight. Then the game changed to 5-10 with a 25 pound straddle, and I felt like I lost a lot of like small to middling pots, 3-bet pots and things like that. Won that really nice pot with pocket tens, and then got bluffed incredibly on the last hand of the night. I tipped my cap to my opponent there, a very nice bluff by him. I thought about it for a long time, and I just felt like much more value than bluffs in my opponent's range, so I decided to make a bit of a tight fold, and he showed me ace-jack with ace clubs. I still won money. I won £221. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you could click the sub button, that would be awesome. But yeah, that's it. Gazzy out, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.